This is Michelle from Eerie River Publishing. We are a indie publishing company that is based out of Southern Ontario, and we publish dark fiction. And today we are talking to our authors of these two installments of folk horror. So this is our anthology of short stories, and these ones are all about folk horror. So you can find us on Facebook, right here, Twitter, TikTok, Instagram, and YouTube. So thank you so much for joining us today. Eerie River Publishing, being a indie publishing house, is really funded and pushed on by our readers and our authors. So I really appreciate every comment, share, purchase, patron. It's just amazing to have so many people being a part of these books. So today we're going to introduce our authors to say hi, and we're going to do some readings. If anybody is here today, please make sure you say a quick hi in the comments. We already have David Green going, no. He's one of our fantastic authors. That is a sarcastic asshole. I mean, I love him. So, so let's introduce our authors. First one we have today is Keely Blair. We have Patrick Barb, and we have Wynn Winters. Hello. How's everybody doing today?
Doing great.
Pretty good.
Excellent. That's great. So today we're going to be talking about your stories, and we're going to start off by doing a reading first. And then if anybody's here, you can leave some comments in below, but I'm going to just sorry, I heard something in the corner. We're going to just sorry, my throat feels like it's just about to cough. I do have a little bit of cold, so I apologize if I start coughing. But what we're going to start with Patrick doing his story. So I'm going to say goodbye to everybody else first, and then we will go to that. Bye, Keely. Sorry, this was very impromptu. It was a very short hello, and I apologize. My brain is not functional today.
No worries.
So your story, I'm just trying to remember what one you're in. You're in book number 1, are you not?
Number 1, I am, yes.
So you're in this beautiful book. So this is available in paperback, and it's also on Kindle and Kindle Unlimited. Now, did you want, I'm going to put you on the main screen so that you're all by yourself. So you have two choices, either jump right in or just give us a little chit chat about the characters or anything like that. And then when you're ready, just say, okay, I'm ready, or anything really, like pineapple, say pineapple, and I will jump in and we'll talk.
Okay.
All right. Good luck. Have fun.
Thank you.
Yeah.
All right. I'm going to be reading from my story. The treasure map inside your face is covered in bees. This story was originally conceived for a Nicolas Cage inspired anthology that it thankfully did not make it in, because I had the opportunity to submit it for the folk horror call here with Eerie River, and I think it found a really great home, and I'm very happy to have this strange little tale in volume 1 of The Old Ways. So I'm going to just jump in here and read a little bit from this story. The treasure map inside your face is covered in bees. I wear your face to study your secrets up close. Blood and honey serve as adequate adhesives, keeping your distorted features in place over my own. I slather my tongue across one of the glossy 8x10s from my short-lived acting career. I brought it here, to this soulless husk of a house, to remind you of what I looked like when we met. In the Poverty Row noir-lit photograph, my black bow ties loosened, ebony strands spooled from my throat to mar the white of my dress shirt. My gray-eyed stare and square chin could give Bogey a run for his money, if not for the long blonde hair cascading over my shoulders. You remember that hair, don't you? You grabbed it in handfuls as we navigated the waterbed in your old apartment. Were you pulling me in for a kiss, A kiss like this more two-dimensional one? Or was I pulling you to me? We slammed together, faces colliding like shifting tectonic plates, like aliens trying to reenact human affection observed from a clinical distance. One time, rougher than the others, our front teeth shattered and we spat the fragments into each other's mouths. I told you weeks later I'd collected your feces, dug out the parts of my teeth you couldn't digest. But I lied. I lied to you too often. But my hair. I was talking about my hair, wasn't I? It's gone now. Brushed out in chunks after the cancer diagnosis, the radiation, and the chemo. You sat at my bedside, not saying a word. Being there was enough. I know it sounds cliche, but it's the truth. It meant the world to me. And I know that sounds cliche too, but even when the doctor gave me the all clear and I rang the bell, giving the nurses and other walking corpses I once called my colleagues in death a chance to cheer, a chance to experience anything for a moment aside from despair, you stood by and said nothing. Will you say anything to me here while I'm holding your face? Now I try to speak, and a fuzzy, black and yellow bumblebee presses its way through your lips, drowning my words in its droning buzz. Your cheeks sit askew over mine, but they bulge and hum with activity. Another bee emerges, then another, and another. Don't get up, please. Sit in the corner, your now lidless eyes forever staring, and your shallow breath speckling the air with blood. Wait until I finish. You're always good on that count. I peel your face back and the bees go away. No traces of fuzzy plump bodies or sharp black stingers or tiny translucent wings working overtime remain. Their honey pulls away some stray stubble across my chin, clouding the golden syrup with the short black bristles of my 5 o'clock shadow. I walk the short distance from the living room to the kitchen. Easy enough when there's no furniture in this model home. No sign of life except me, you with your bleeding, skinless head, the broken glass by the living room window, and those fleeing bumblebees. I take off your face and wash it in the kitchen sink. I might have been presumptuous earlier, putting your face on so fresh from its removal. It's time to wash away the blood and honey. Scrub the stringy tendons of meat once connecting your long face, narrow eyes, and tall, ghost white cheekbones to the muscle and bone you wear now. It's like you've taken off one too many layers for this time of year, huh? Don't worry. I'm careful not to wash too much. If I ever give it back, you'll still wear it without too much difference from how you appeared before. The deep blue-black lines on the inside resemble veins, but they come with a different purpose than carrying blood, pumping life through a body. I spread your face flat across the countertop, lift the hem of my shirt to dab away excess moisture. I told your parents about you, about what you really are. In all honesty, I never expected them to react the way they did. It shocked me when they went along with my plan, slipping crushed up powders into your after dinner coffee, a bit stronger than the Baileys we'd spike our morning cups with on rainy days when neither of us wanted to go to work, and after the layoffs when there was no work to go to. I didn't expect their help, and I certainly never expected what they did after I took your face. Old as they are, were, they climbed to the edge of the overpass across from here faster than I expected. But they sure fell as fast as you'd assume they'd fall. What's wrong? No fairy dust to sprinkle on them so they'd fly? Oh, stop. Don't moan at me like you ever cared. You were never their son. You were an imitation, an illusion. This face in my hands, it's not even yours. You stole it. You stole it, and with it came the future of the baby it belonged to, who never grew into the child it belonged to, and never woke up confused and tired, always so tired, trying to understand the person it never became. And that's a pineapple on that one.
That's a pineapple on that one.
I'm gonna
I
use it. You give me
appreciate
that word. I'm gonna use it somehow. I'm gonna put it in there.
do it. Do it. I we were just in the background we're saying that the intro paragraph was so poetic, and I completely agree. I personally love the prose of this story, just like the way that you worded things, the like it was just such an enjoyably weird and dark read.
Oh,
that
thank you.
yeah,
I
I
appreciate it.
really, like I didn't get to read any of these stories until after Holly had already um, done it. Like I gave this whole thing to Holly because I was like, look, I know you love um, folk horror, and this was one of the stories. She was like, you are gonna love this story.
Excellent.
It
Yeah,
is
it's
just
great.
yeah, like it's like the bizarreness was just right up my alley, and I really enjoyed that. Do you was well, let's talk about the story. You said that it was actually for something else that didn't get
Yeah, I mean, well,
placed.
the inspiration was for that anthology originally,
Yeah,
and it got passed on to their loss, I like to say, in your gain. And
absolutely our gain.
so I think what I liked about this story is that I took that premise about like a Nicolas Cage inspired story, which all the title, the treasure map inside your face, is
Yes.
covered in bees. I took a little bit from Face Off,
Yeah.
National Treasure, and The Wicker Man for all those keeping score at home. And the story that came out of that, that was where the inspiration
Yeah.
from the man himself ended, and the rest of it was just like, let's come up with this story. I've always really liked the stories about like deals with the fae and like things that are like in the forest and changelings and things like that. So this story is definitely in that vein and has that sort of like mythological or folkloric history
Yeah.
behind it. And then I just got weird with it, just
Yeah.
got a little weird with it.
Yeah. In like the most perfect way, I think.
Thank you. I
Yeah,
hope
and I
so.
love the title. There was a moment there when I was like, how is this a title? But it is, and it's amazing.
Thank you. Yeah, I knew it's one of those titles where I wanted to make sure the story lived up to
Yeah.
the title, because I was like, oh, if I drop the ball in this,
I
it's really
it's
gonna
very
sting.
true. Like if you have and that's one thing about titles, like if you have a title that's that like crazy, it's gotta be in there.
Oh yeah,
So
absolutely.
you definitely went for it. So what is it about folk horror that you like to write? Like is this a, like I'm gonna say, like, is this the vein of writing that you normally do, or are
Yeah, I mean, it
are you?
definitely falls in. Like, I write a lot of weird fiction and horror, like weird horror kind of stuff. Both sort of more contemporary focused, more urban focused. But I grew up out in the country in Virginia, and I grew up like with a forest between me and my nearest neighbors. So like that whole vibe of like small towns and things in the woods and dark, being separated from civilization. Um, or just the sort of connection to the land is something that I have identify with and can understand. And then when you watch these, whether it's like folk horror in movies or read it, there's that certain feeling of unease that I think somebody who, when you live in the cities or you're around like cars and
Yeah.
buildings and the lights are always on, and then this world where you're disconnected from that and you don't have those connections, that sort of primal setting, I think
Yeah.
is really impactful. So I've had a few stories now that have been more in the kind of folk horror vein and still with the added kind of weirdness as well, because I like, just like to mix it up a little bit.
That's excellent. I enjoy the mashup.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yeah. So thank you so much for reading.
Sure, absolutely.
Yeah, absolutely. And thanks for submitting the story. And you know what? It is to their detriment and to my I lost the word.
We won. You won it though. I mean, it's just a great looking book. I'm really happy to be a part of the series.
Oh, I'm yeah. Thank you so much. Because they are I really enjoy them. I think they look, especially together, I think they look really,
Oh, it's quite the combo.
yeah,
Absolutely.
I love it. Yeah, and hopefully we can do like another round next year and have like another two stellar friggin' folk horror stories. I think that
Excellent.
would be great. All right, so I'm going to say goodbye to you for right now. Thank you so
All
much for
righty.
coming. I will bring you
Thanks,
back at
Phil.
the end. We can do like another question answer. You can show us what's coming up for you next, okay?
Sure thing.
All
Sounds
right,
great.
thank you so much.
Bye.
Bye. Okay, so next one we have Keely. Sorry, Keely Blair is going to be coming up. Are you ready? Yes, we have a yes. Perfect. Hello, Keely. How are you?
Good. How are you?
I am surviving. I'm doing very well, actually. It's beautiful outside. I've got one more day of sunshine before the cold weather comes in, so I will one day get out there. So you are in book one as well. So we can find your book, your story in here. What story? What did you read? Right?
A Summer Lament.
Summer Lament. Oh, I love that title too. I'm a big fan of the word lament. I don't know why, but it resonates with my soul in a really weird way. So I'm going to leave you to the screen. So if you want to tell us a little bit about the story first, you can, or you can just start reading. Up to you, okay? And if you need anything or whatever, just be like, Michelle, and I will come. All right, good luck.
Pineapple.
Yeah, absolutely. This can be like the pineapple thread. The pineapple live. I love it. All right. Thank you. Talk to you soon.
All right. I think I'm just going to dive into this. So, as I said before, my story was Summer Lament. I didn't remember much about my hometown. Every so often, I smelled sweet cut grass and June's golden hair, tasted rich honey on her lips. Her hands brushed against me with light, feathery touches, like leaves rustling in the wind. When she sang, it was with the power of church wedding bells echoing over fields of dancing wheat, and the beauty of birdsong high above my head, out of reach. Summer stretched on forever in her blue eyes, past orchards of apples, stalks of corn rising tall above the earth. If you look close enough, something waited for you at the end of infinity. Its name danced on your tongue, and you didn't know whether to laugh or sob or slice your own throat open to stop it from coming. You had to close your eyes then. I always did. The summer crops grew in chaotic, wilted rows when June Harper graced Crescent Lake with her reviving presence. The few animal sacrifices made for the year's harvest hadn't gone over well, and famine would set in if we didn't act. June's arrival brought a wave of relief to the small town, along with a cascading fear of what would happen should we fail. Most held the general belief June had been born to save us, quell the evil choking the life out of our crops and children. She drove through the town in a shiny new car, drawing envious eyes wherever she went. Most people believed she would stop by her mother's first, pay her respects. Instead, she came to see me. I wiped the sweat from my brow before two hands, ice cold from the air conditioning she blasted in her shiny car, reached over my eyes, blinding me. Guess who? My heart pounded, beating like the hooves of a horse against the hard red clay at our feet. My tongue swiped at my dry lips, a futile effort to moisten the cracked surface. May, I said. Her hands released me, and I turned to see her arms fold over her chest. That stopped being funny in second grade, Holly, she said. June, I said. She froze at the way I said her name, a light blush dusting her cheeks, or maybe it was me, hoping it wasn't just a light summer and coloring her face when her eyes met mine. For a moment, things were weird. A solid 10 years stretched between us, murky like the lake water stretching out for miles around our birthplace. June's golden hair shimmered like a discovered treasure, tied behind her in a loose ponytail. Her manicured sky blue nails left crescents in her tanned arms. Every exposed inch of bronze skin beyond her tank top and denim shorts remained flawless, as though she hadn't traveled on the part of the map where there be dragons. My breath caught as I sized her up. She'd grown an inch or two, and not much since high school. I chopped like a weed in 10th grade, the year after she left. Dryness lingered in my mouth as I avoided thoughts of my hands on her thick thighs. My lips pressed to hers. You're staring, Holly, she said. Her tone was light, teasing, but there was a note of hesitation she'd never held before. What brings you back to town? I asked. It's a small town, she said. Surely you've heard. Your mother. Good riddance. I kneeled to inspect a wilted stalk of corn, and June crouched beside me. Her breath tickled my face, sweet with a hint of strawberries. She reached out to touch the stalk before I could stop her, frowning. Crops don't seem to be doing well this year, she said. I bit my tongue, swallowing the tail of a swarm of locusts devouring our harvest last year and disease the year before. My excitement upon seeing her faded by the minute, replaced with a white-hot anger blazing through every vein, the unfairness of everything charring my insides. Come on, I said. I'll take you to see your brother. He's missed you, you know. The lie came easily, and she seemed to believe it. We stood facing each other. I handed her my truck's keys, and she walked to it, humming an old hymn she likely didn't understand the meaning of even now. I glanced down at the wilted stalk of corn, but it was now green, upright, revived by June's touch. I think I'm going to stop there.
I didn't hear pineapple.
Really didn't want to say it twice.
I'm just joking. Oh, that was a great reading. I love and we were talking at the back as well as we were saying that it was beautiful and dark at once, and that we love the connection between June and the geographical area. Where did your inspiration come for this story?
Honestly, it was family related. My grandparents actually came from a nowhere town in Alabama where there was like, I don't know, maybe 5,000 people in it when they were young. And it just, I always had a fascination with the remote, the basically what other people think of as backwards, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Was it a backwards kind of place? Like, my husband's from a town that has less than 2,000 people in it. But like, they are a little bit different, but mainly just because they didn't have access to a lot of things that like city living did. But it was only within like an hour of like big cities. How remote is this location, and how remote, in your head anyways, when you're writing it, how remote is this location?
This is a location that basically you can't find except by accident.
Oh, I love those places.
Yeah.
In my head, I feel like I would freak out in real life.
Mm-hmm.
Depends on how backwards. That's pretty cool. Do you have any like personal connection with any of the characters? Like you said that it was based, kind of the ideas on like grandparents used to live in a place like could be like this. Are any of the characters based on any family members or friends or anything like that?
I don't like consciously basing them on people I know. It feels weird to me, but I think the general idea that a lot of people I know that grew up in remote towns were more susceptible to being coaxed into things, and the primary thing, like antagonist of this story, is like a forgotten god, a cult. Like, these are people that were easily drawn into something.
Yeah.
They were more naive, I guess.
Very cool. No, I love that. So what makes you kind of resonate with folk horror? Is this something that you write often or read often? Or is this like, what do you love about it?
So I like being able to tap into my southern roots and do something actually, I don't know, that I consider nice with them.
Yeah.
I don't know. I've always been very interested in the world directly around me.
Yeah.
It's really hard to describe. I'm sorry, I don't have a good answer prepared.
You don't have to have a good answer prepared. Just finding like being able to connect with history, with family, with something that's familiar, and like twisting it is like that's why we do what we do, right? Like, I feel like horror specifically for, well, we were having this conversation yesterday with the authors, is horror is a really interesting way of connecting with things that are taboo and like throwing them in the light and having people have connections with it and like being able to see it and things like that. So I think that's the perfect answer. That's great. Thank you so much for coming today and for reading for us. Thank you so much for submitting your story, because we absolutely loved it. Holly, like, I can't tell you how much she gushed over the stories that were in this book, these books. So it's just a thrill to have everyone here and just telling us about their stories. We love it. Thank you so much. So I'm going to say goodbye for right now. And then I'll have you back at the end and we'll do a quick wrap up, and you can tell us all about what's coming up next or what just came out, and we'll go from there. Okay.
All right.
All right. Thank you so much, Keely. Okay, last but never least, we have Win coming on. Hello, how are you?
Doing pretty good. I have a dog in my lap, so if you hear like jingling or snoring, that's what that is.
That's absolutely perfect. We had Holly's husband the other day on her couch snoring. But she couldn't like throw anything at him because she's like, the only thing I had around me was my cell phone. I'm like, I would have thrown the cell phone.
I might damage the cell phone.
I know. I still would have done it. I'm just one of those people. I would have taken any, yeah. So I'm gonna leave you on. Oh, Win, what book are you losing my mind?
So my story is in
You're in
the
book
first
number one.
volume.
Yep.
Yep,
Oh,
and it's
today's
called The Hollow
first
King's
volume
Bride.
day. I didn't even realize that. Okay. And what story are you reading today?
The Hollow King's Bride.
Excellent. Okay. So, oh, ugh, I'm going to leave you alone. Feel free. Let me know when you're ready. Okay.
Okay,
Good
I'm
luck.
good.
Talk to you soon.
All right. So, The Hollow King's Bride is deeply inspired by my mild obsession with Celtic triple goddesses, specifically the Morrigan, who is the goddess of war, fate, magic, chaos, but then, like, more specifically for this story, sovereignty and agricultural fertility. Um, there was a myth that the king had to marry the triple goddess to become the king uh, of Ireland. And so that's kind of where the idea of like the marriage comes in with this story. So I'll go ahead and read my excerpt. All the town gathered in the village square, from the oldest pensioner to the littlest babe. They were bound to witness. This night was for their benefit, after all. A ritual conducted every 13 years to ensure prosperity. For 1,000 years the fields had grown golden with wheat, the orchards ripe with fruit, and the cows fat with milk, as long as the townsfolk provided an offering to their agrarian deity. As the newest family in town, the Graces were obliged to bear the burden, a bride for the Hollow King. The town square was an old space, the central fountain worn over years of exposure. Every shop and household was shuttered, the lights extinguished. Torches lined the streets, cast flickering light along the cobblestones as Imogen, flanked by her mother and grandmother, approached in her wedding finery. 3 men awaited the young bride. The first, a well-dressed, portly man who served as the town's mayor, held a flower crown, which he gingerly placed on Imogen's head, careful not to disturb her veil. The second, a sombre man clad in a vicar's garb, sprinkled holy water from a metal flask, murmuring a blessing. The third man was dressed simply, his expression obscured by a bushy beard. As the head of the blacksmith's guild, he presented a golden ring to the crowd, wrought in the shape of intertwining branches. Hundreds of eyes watched the firelight glint along the delicate workmanship. Instead of giving the ring to Imogen, he held it out to her mother, who received it with a solemn nod. Appropriately attired, Imogen turned to the north, where her future husband waited. The walk was a long one. 3 fresh-faced virgin girls carried her train, careful to keep it above the dusty cobbles. In accord with tradition, Imogen held a bouquet, the flowers gathered by the local widows. Yellow chrysanthemums for prosperity, longevity, and wealth. Magenta orchids for love, thoughtfulness, and charm. And pure white lilies for innocence. Her knuckles were pale where she gripped the stems, but her face was unreadable. The crowds watched her pass, the remaining Grace women a few steps behind and the 3 men after. When the wedding party reached the town's edge, the townspeople began to follow, filing into a large queue. No one pushed or shoved, though children darted here and there, too young to recognize the evening's import. The path past the fields where crops grew plentiful. For such a large group, it was strangely silent. The only sounds the shuffle of feet and a soft, gentle rain as the townsfolk tossed handfuls of rice, leaving a trail in their wake. The road grew narrower as it entered the woods. The trees, thick with summer leaves, blocked out the stars, rendering torches the only source of light. The crowd marched, unnaturally quiet. Eventually, an orange glow appeared in the distance, growing larger and more imposing with every step. At last, the path gave way to an expanse of clearing with an enormous bonfire burning vigorously in the center. Before the bonfire stood two figures, the wizened old apothecary and her pimple-faced apprentice. At the other end of the meadow, beyond reach of the firelight, lay two stone doors set in the ground. No one dared look their way, even during the long wait as the procession came to a stop. Pineapple.
Pineapple. I love it. Thank you so much for doing that. We were saying in the background, and we love how much the setting plays a role in folk horror, and that is evident in this one as well. Where did the inspiration from this? Like, where did you come up with this particular setting?
So I've always really loved dark fantasy, and when I was younger, I really loved books about like small communities that kind of rested on the edge of something unknown. Like
Yeah,
growing up, The Moor Child was one of my favorite. It was my favorite book for a very long time. It's about a changeling who's exchanged, and she has to grow up with humans, and it's all from her perspective.
yeah.
Um, and another thing I think that inspired me is I first like got my start in horror on r/no sleep on Reddit, and even
Yes, I did the same
yeah,
thing. I did the same
even
thing.
yeah, it's just so accessible, and oh my
Yes.
god, some of the writing is so good.
Yeah.
And even though there's not a whole lot of like folk horror, and there are a lot of stories about people like remote settings, eating goats, like rules for camping, where
Yeah.
they're like in a forest, and the forest is like its own um like plane of existence. So I didn't have like a specific idea in mind that the setting was based on. It was more like drawing from all of these different elements about a a community that is like on the edge of something dark that they don't quite understand, but they're benefiting from it, so they don't care. Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah, highly recommend No Sleep.
I know.
It's
Do you know what?
free. It's so
I
good.
that is, and I want to say I discovered no sleep right before I started writing. Now
Mhm.
I had that's a lie. I had written years before, but I had only ever like written a couple chapters, and in my head, everything had to be this big, huge, giant, like enormous mountain to climb in order to get
Mhm.
something published in the world. And once I discovered no sleep, it like a light bulb went off in my head. I'm like, I can do something like this. It doesn't have to be like this trial. It can be something
Mhm.
small, and I can just like step into
You
the
can
waters and
you can
discover things.
share
Yeah,
those
like
things that you've been keeping, all those
yeah.
stories that you haven't been able to share with people.
Exactly. And I think a lot of people like laugh at the idea of no sleep, but I think it's such a good stepping stone for authors and
Mhm.
for just it doesn't matter where you are in your career. Like if all you ever want to do is write free stories on no sleep, that's fantastic.
Yeah.
Like it's just about getting your words out there and finding inspiration and um yeah, I the same
Yeah,
thing.
and making writer friends. I've made like
Yeah.
I think we actually our first interaction was on the No Sleep Author Alliance, you and I,
Yes.
right? Yeah, so like that was
That
my
was
first
years
step
ago.
into yeah, I know, right? But that was like getting into No Sleep, and then there's a bunch of like subreddits that are for like the authors or for just discussing it, and that's where I found a lot of like my online writer friends where I'm like, oh, there
Yeah.
are weirdos who read
Right?
scary stories to go to sleep.
Yeah, it's crazy how it builds like this community of like people from all over the world that
Mm-hmm.
all have the same kind of dark vein. Like we're all just a little bit creepy, but
Yeah.
normal. Most of us are normal. Okay, I'm going to bring in our other authors. We're going to start with Patrick and then Keely. Here you go. Hello. Do any of you read No Sleep or even
Every
know
now and
what
then
No Sleep is?
I'll dip in every now and then and check some things out. I have a lot of writer friends who are more heavily involved.
Yeah,
It's
right.
getting something in that style and that sort of like punchiness of it. I think it's a skill that I have not challenged myself with personally. But I also feel like a lot of that like creepypasta stuff is also like our modern day folklore, folk horror as well. So it definitely like
Yeah.
that resonates absolutely across this sort of subgenre.
I absolutely agree. And I know what you had said when that there isn't too much folk horror. And I found that a lot of it was ritualistic and like
Yeah.
my town. Like no one's allowed to go outside of my town after 7 o'clock at night, and like all of those weird ritualistic, like small
It is
town
a lot.
bizarre things. Like I really, not everything's like that, but I thought I found a couple of them were. Yeah, if anyone is watching, feel free to ask a question. Mm, I almost got away with not coughing there.
I just wanted to mention, I found it really interesting that mine and Keely and Amanda's story. I know that Amanda was supposed to be on here, but
Yes.
all of them have a very similar premise where it's a young woman being sacrificed for the community's benefit.
Yeah.
And all the stories end differently, which is I love. As we all kind of had like the same idea, but I thought that was so interesting, and I wondered if maybe that had something to do with like our personal experiences as femme folk, like that idea of the kind of burden of fertility and on of like giving falling on women in communities. I don't know if that was like a conscious like theme that like I know I didn't really like think about it that way until I looked at the stories and went, oh wait a minute. There's like a there's like a connecting thread here. But
Yeah.
I think that like from the folklore that I have read, I do see that show up where there's like it's very like feminine focused,
Yeah.
but in a way that is kind of burdensome on that character.
Well,
Yeah,
let's
that
look
makes
at
sense.
reality, feminine focused. There is a lot of stuff that is the burden of the woman
Mm-hmm.
when we're talking about like the balance of stuff. We were talking about it yesterday too.
Yeah.
A little bit. We were talking about we were talking about fertilities and miscarriages and things like that.
Mm-hmm.
But like, and how horror sometimes from a women's point of view, because people have said before that women can't really write horror when the reality is that for a lot of women, life is horror. Because a lot of circumstances are where we are the ones that are um, put in danger more often, are more fearful of our lives, can die in childbirth, and all those things. Like we are born with pain. Um, like if you think like menstruation and all of those other things, like those are things that are just normal for us. So being able to put that into writing and have that come with this responsibility of fertility and all that other stuff as well. But even if you look at like ritualistic killings before, like they did at some point had to be a virgin, had to be this type of person. So I think that the reason why we see these types of things through folk horror is because it is based on history, like realities of like human nature, I think.
That's true.
Mm.
Yeah. Well, I know just from my studies in the Celtic mythology, I know that the Druids did perform human sacrifices, and I think that they were mostly female. There was like a specific, like you said, a very specific type of person. So I think that might have influenced like my writing, but I think you're right that there's like throughout history we see that pattern over and over again.
Yeah. So speaking of, like, you did some Celtic digging into, did anyone do any research for their, besides watching all of the Nicolas Cage movies over and over and over again?
I just have them committed to memory. They play when I close my eyes. They just play on the
They just
screen
replay.
inside my eyes. Right? I didn't need to do
And
research
Face
there.
Off. Face Off.
It's a fantastic movie. John Travolta and Nicolas Cage.
I know.
Can't go
All
wrong.
at once.
It's a beautiful thing.
It is a beautiful thing.
Yeah, I much less so. I think I was more like just having an awareness of those sort of like stories and the changeling mythology. Like I've read a lot of fiction, whether it's dark fantasy or kind of the folk horror or just sort of like weird horror that involves the thing in the woods, right? It's like I think there's on one hand you've got like horror in that weird vein. It's like something from outer space or something from deep in the cosmos, and then on the other hand it's like something that's from our world, on the same planet as us, but from entirely different world. And that's always really appealed to me as a writer. It's just like seeing a sort of quote unquote normal person interacting with or in conflict with that different way of existing, basically.
Yeah. Very cool. Keely, did you do any specific, oh my gosh, research for this story, for your thing? I'm wondering if we lost them. I think we might have lost them.
Oh no.
I don't say it might be frozen. Oh.
Almost. Are you still there? Or have you frozen? Okay. Did you do any research specifically for your story, like for the folk horrorness?
I'm sorry, it cut out for a second. Was that directed toward me or
Yes.
someone else? So I don't really do research for folk horror. It kind of feels like so deeply ingrained at this point. It doesn't really, like, that's the one subgenre I don't really have to do a lot of research on.
Yeah.
I do take a lot from like biblical roots, but that's about it.
Very cool. All right. Well, thank you guys so much for coming. Now, I would like to know where we can, let's tell everyone while we wrap up, where we can find you on social media. Do you have any books coming out or anything that's just been released that we can look at? Let's start with you. Where can we find you? How do we connect with you? How do I read all of your stuff?
So I post a lot on Reddit. I have a subreddit r/WinFWinters, where no matter where I post on Reddit, I cross post to that subreddit, so you can read literally everything I've ever posted on Reddit there. It's mostly flash fiction, horror, and short stories, so there are a couple of series on there.
Very cool.
And I also have a Twitter. You can find me at WintersWin. That's where I am most active, and I'll post updates about I post a new story, click here. I don't have anything coming out. No, I think this is the most recent book that I'm in, but I do 31 days of Halloween every October, where I post a story a day in October. So look forward to that in a couple months.
Awesome. That is commitment.
They're all
Do you
flash
write
fiction.
them?
I can't do more.
Do you write them on the day, or do you like pre-write them?
No, I start last year I started writing them in August, and this year I'm going to start writing them in June.
Okay, good for you.
It takes a while.
'Cause I'm imagining you writing one story a day, and I'm just like, my
I
mind
did
is
that the first year. I'm not doing that again.
never
It's too
again.
much.
Okay, Patrick, where can we find you? What do you have coming out, or what do you have out?
Sure. So if anybody wants to connect with me, my website, first of all, has all the contact information and has links to all my short stories that have been published, and that is patrickbarb.com. Pretty simple one there. And I am also on Twitter, twitter.com/pbarb, B-A-R-B. And so, yeah, everybody give me a follow, check out my stuff. At the end of last year, I had 3 books come out, and I will share them, give the quick rapid fire pitches for this
Do
one.
it.
Gargantuana's Ghost from Gray Matter Press is a dark urban fantasy novella. I describe it as sort of like King Kong meets The Sixth Sense, with a pair of sort of misfits who befriend the ghost of a giant ape in New York City on the subway. Then we've got Turn. This was from Alien Buddha Press. This is a vampire pro wrestling novella. It's a little bit like the Dracula and Renfield relationship, but they are deathmatch pro wrestlers in this one. And last, from Spooky House Press, this is my novelette, Helicopter Parenting in the Age of Drone Warfare. And it's a Black Mirror-esque look at sort of near future parenting and being able to monitor your children and keep an eye on them, but also missing out on sort of a more human relationship with them as well. And then this September, my debut short story collection, Pre-Approved for Haunting, is coming out from Keylight Books and Turner Publishing, and that will be out September 26th. The other 3 books are all available on Amazon. Everything but Turn is also available, Barnes & Noble, bookshop.org, wherever else. You might want to be picking up my books, and I hope folks will give them a glance.
Those sound awesome and so bizarre at the same time.
Thank you.
Like the gorilla ghosts that are befriended on a subway?
Yes. Of course. Why not?
I need to read all of these.
Thank you.
Oh my gosh. Okay. And we can obviously we can find out links on your website to
links are on the website to those books, to any anthologies I'm in. I try to keep it as up to date as I can. I might be 1 or 2 things behind, but yeah, and there's links to free stuff as well for those who want to just dive in and get a little taste.
Awesome. Okay, Keely, where can we find you?
This is going to be anticlimactic after that. That was incredible. You can find my work, links to it, links to where to buy it, whatever, on KeelyBlair.com.
Yep.
But I'm really not that active on social media right now. I've been trying to find a new home ever since the thing with Twitter and haven't found it yet.
That's okay. Social media is a scourge of civilization. And I'm only on it because of work. So do you have any books coming out right now? Or do you have any... Where can we find your stuff?
I'm working on my first novel right now.
Congratulations.
Yeah. I'm hoping to have it completely edited by the end of the year and then hopefully sending it out to agents. But
that'd be amazing.
Yeah.
Good luck. Good luck. All right. Eerie River Publishing is literally every fucking where. We are on Instagram. We are on Facebook, TikTok, YouTube, and Twitter and they're all at Eerie River, except for Instagram, where we are at Eerie_River. These two amazing books are available everywhere. You can buy them on Amazon or at your local bookstore. Just request it. And see if they can actually, that's one fantastic way of supporting indie publishing, is go to your local bookstore and say, hey, can you get this book for me? Then you're supporting them, and you're also supporting indie bookstores without supporting Amazon, because I know some people really hate big corporations. Another way of getting these is contact us directly. We do have discounted rates if you bulk order or if you order more than one title at a time. But beyond that, thank you so much for joining. And if you catch us later, thank you so much for watching. It's been a pleasure to talk to you guys and to like put names to faces to like scary, weird books and stories. I absolutely love it. So thank you so much for being here. You guys have a wonderful day, and like, thank you.
Yeah, thank you for having us.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thanks.
All right. Bye, everybody.